folks. Welcome inside the Parisi Palace, high above 2919 East Broadway. This is the Jake Feinberg Show, coming to you live on Power Talk. Please go to our website, powertalk.live, download the free app, stream all of our live local shows, including Solomon on Blast and the Jim Parisi Show. We have a huge show today, and we thank you for being part of the program. And without further ado, I want to bring in a guy who has really carved out his own legacy in melodic improvisation. He developed his own sound through trial and error on the bandstand. And he continues to be productive and transcendent today in his playing and his philosophy and his ethos. Sonny Fortune, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show.
How you doing, Jake? How are you, man?
How you doing, brother?
I'm doing fine.
Hey, can you talk about, I know you just recently played at the Portland Jazz, or up in Portland with the skipper Henry Franklin, but I was curious about the first time that you ever played with Henry.
Oh, man. Whoa. I think you got me going into a deep recall.
Right. This is super deep, yeah. No, but I mean,
yeah.
You guys, it wasn't the first time you played, right?
No. I've been knowing Henry Franklin for almost 50 years. And tell you the truth, I'm not too sure when the first time was.
You can take a pass. That's fine. No, we're cool. It's not
because I remember him. He and I. Well, we did a tour about 15 years ago, and then I did a lot of hits in Los Angeles, and he was a part of that band that was put together for me coming out there. Like I said, I've known him ever since. Matter of fact, he reminded me of it when we worked together the early part of this year. I think we met. He was working with. I was working with Mongo Santa Maria, and I think he was working with
Hugh Masekela.
Is that who he was working with? Okay.
Well, if it was 60.
I was getting ready to say somebody else. I was getting ready to say either Willie Bobo or Herbie Mann. I didn't even consider Hugh Masekela, but you may be right.
No, I'm thinking that he possibly may have been with Willie Bobo as well. It's just hard to know. I think Grazing in the Grass was cut at that point. He was in Willie Bobo's band, and then he got tired of that, and then he got involved with Masekela. Either way, I mean, your friendship goes back a long way. I just wanted you to talk about what makes him a special bass player. I mean, he's in the same discussion as cats like Ron Carter and Al McKibben and cats like that. So I just wanted you to talk about it from a frontline horn perspective.
Well, what I've noticed as recent as the last time we worked together, there's a certain kind of, when you try to describe music, it kind of gets, with words, that is, it gets kind of, you get kind of lost.
welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show.
and so, with that being said, I often use the word magic because for me, I'm always looking for the magic in music, and as a musician, I'm always looking for the magic in a musician. And in reference to Henry Franklin, I hear that in his playing. Magic gives me inspiration. I hope it inspires the listener as well. But for me, as far as I'm concerned, when I use the word magic, I'm actually using that word to replace an abstract that I don't know how else to define other than I'm inspired.
Absolutely, I love it.
As opposed to being turned off or indifferent about.
Oh, I dig. I mean, it's there's only two letters that separate magic and music. So it's. Can you talk about I've just
I never thought of it that way.
yeah, no,
okay.
I forget who told me that. I'm not going to claim credit for that.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, but somebody hit me to that, and I've been using that for a minute. But can you? I have interviewed so many cats lately, just out of control from the Philadelphia area. I mean, I'm Reggie Workman, Mickey Roker, Odine Pope, Tyrone Brown, Stanley Clark. I mean, it just doesn't ever end. And I'm wondering about if you had opportunities to, when you were coming up and woodshedding and just trying to just get your feet on the ground, did you have a chance to cross paths with Coltrane at all?
Well, first of all, I know all of those guys, and a couple of them were very close. Yes, I played with Coltrane once at a church at 18th and Diamond. I opened up for him with my band, and then I ended up sitting in with his band. But I saw him many times in Philadelphia. I spoke to him often on intermission or over the phone. But I would say that Coltrane probably was my biggest inspiration.
Can you talk about why? I think it's obviously his playing, but like Odine talked about. He would practice with Train, and Train taught him, and I hear it in your playing too. And I don't know if you guys practiced, but he taught him to play.
No, we didn't.
Right, but I mean, Odine just said he learned all the notes, every scale, all the notes on his horn, and Train would just run that every day. And I just wanted you to talk about some things that that inspired you about him as just a human being.
Well, I didn't know Train that well. Like I said, I went to see him many times. I talked to him a number of times, memorable conversations that I've had with him. But I only played with him once. But
can you talk about a memorable?
I ended up working with. Well, I actually I just realized, I ended up working with almost a whole alumni, with the exception of Jimmy Garrison. But one of the things that I found that I found in the process of working with all of these cats was that they all pretty much said the same thing about Train, and I felt the same way, and I more or less kind of described him often to people as, I've met a lot of people, which I have, but I've met very few people like Coltrane. One of the things that impressed me, that used to startle me with Coltrane, was the kind of person he was versus what I heard in his music, the kind of person that he came across musically. He seemed to have been a completely different kind of a person, very gentle otherwise, very quiet, very subdued, had very little to say, and very humbling in his impact. But when he got on the bandstand, man, he was another kind of cat. I mean, wow. He was a cat that I just found incredible strength and power, clarity, direction, conviction, commitment, all of those kind of adjectives that I would associate with him.
Talking to Sonny Fortune here on the Jake Feinberg Show. Such an honor to have this cat on. In the early 60s, I was born in 78, but I really hope that I wouldn't have been one of these journalists that, when he was beginning to transition into a leader and started to play more modal music, a lot of it was written off as hate music. Jimmy Cobb said that sometimes people in the audience would get up and say, make him stop, especially when he was channeling what you talked about, that inner urge, which was different than his personality. Why did people consider it hate music?
Well, Well, that's a very good question. And I would say the answer is probably a lot has to do with America's historical history. I mean, Coltrane was a guy, I mean, that music, jazz, spontaneous improvisational music is what I call it, kind of came through at a time when there was a lot of turmoil racially in the country. And jazz was kind of stepping into its own kind of, musically speaking, stepping into its own kind of awareness and dignity associated with all of this. And Coltrane kind of came along with, and in that reservoir of innovation and attitudes and awarenesses, political and otherwise, Coltrane came along and was kind of representing all of that, and yet and kind of expressing it through music. Strangely enough, though, while he was in that pursuit, avant-garde, which was kind of an offshoot of this awareness, came about as well, and it had an impact on Train. And I often wondered why, because for me as a musician that was interested in that pursuit, what I got from Train's presentation, especially with the band that he ended up having with Elvin McCoy and Jimmy Garrison, that they were as free could get, and yet they were still maintaining a form, an order. And that is what I'm interested in, even up to today.
Absolutely.
And so I think all of that was new. And in conjunction with the racial tension and racial issues, actually people kind of thought that there was a real anger or rage in Coltrane, and I found him to be one of the most gentle men I've ever known.
It's just very well articulated. We're talking to an improvisational master who's having to think on his feet here on the Jake Feinberg Show. Sonny, I wonder about this idea of, these racial tensions. I mean, we're coming out of bebop in the 50s, right? I mean, essentially that what changed was that it took on, like you said, as free could get and still holding a form. But it was so, to me, it was just the edgiest thing in the world. And I guess what I'm trying to get at is just this idea of this dichotomy between his playing. I mean, when I just talked to Reggie Workman, he said, Train didn't care how old or young you were. He didn't care. He always had his ear to the ground to listen to something new. And he was always looking for something new. And I wonder, in today's world, as we move forward, because my show is not about preservation, it's about promotion, how you feel the strength of that free is free, get out with form is holding up in melodic music, melodic improvisation today. Is there an audience for it? Or with the shrinking venues and the consumption of jazz getting smaller and smaller in this country, will people be relegated to their basements to be playing this kind of music in 15, 20 years? I just want to get your thoughts on that.
Well, you've asked a few questions here, but in regards to how the audience, art kind of moves in a strange kind of a way. We're in another kind of reality today as far as the art is concerned. As far as I can see, there's something else that is kind of in front of everything, and it's kind of like futuristic electronics and laser and bright lights and all of that kind of stuff. And there's art in there as well, But I don't, at least for me, and I could be suffering from just being an old age.
No.
But for me, I'm not necessarily seeing the imagination and the creativity that was in the arts, or that's in the arts. Now, in terms of the music that we're speaking of specifically, this, well, like I said, I call it spontaneous improvisational, because jazz, to me, the word jazz doesn't necessarily, I mean, it kind of is associated with a time period, but it doesn't necessarily speak to the mindset of the individuals and the people and the theme of what the music that is associated with jazz.
That's right. That's exactly right.
So I say spontaneous improvisational music because for me, that's what I'm interested in. That's what I got from all of this: spontaneous improvisational music with a theme, free with order, as opposed to just flying all over the place. I mean, one of the phenomenons out here in existence is, in all of this chaos, there absolutely appears to be some order. And since man has been asking, we're still asking, I should also add, we're trying to figure out, what is that? What is this order?
Yes.
What is it? Alfie, what is it all about?
No,
That's what I ask.
No, you're nailing.
I ask Alfie often.
Yeah. Right.
And so train this music. I think if the mind continues to embrace it, it will survive. The creativity is probably the essence, and that will continue in spite of. It may get a smaller audience, but I don't think that'll have any impact on the creativity of it all, because art kind of works in a strange kind of way. I think I said that in the beginning.
No, and you've actually been on the ground. I guess I was interviewing this guitar player Mundell Lowe, and that cat was like, he just said that what we're in right now, it's just a full-on return to vaudeville. When you talk about the light shows and the lasers and the extra stimulation, everything but the internal burn. I mean, people were going to get off on that music because it was burning music. When you were playing with Elvin Jones in '67, nobody was going there to be pacified, as far as I'm concerned. If you were, then you probably were one of those people that was screaming and yelling, or you just would walk out. But man, I mean, that's what I'm talking about, is that it's because music is now made for pacification, Sonny. And it bothers me greatly. I mean, it bothers me because it's infecting my daughter's hearing. It's infecting younger generation's ability to understand authenticity versus conformity. I mean, on a global picture, it is, or on a larger scale, even though jazz is a world music now, which is, I guess, okay. I mean, it really is rooted here in this country. And we are... But the vaudeville component of it, I mean, you can go to a sporting event or even a entertainment show now, a music show, and you almost seem the music is almost tertiary or fourth, But I did want to, we have a game on this program called Name That Tune. I want to go back. I'm going to tap into your reservoir of memory again. We'll play this tune, and then we'll come back and break it down, okay?
Okay.
Brought to you by the Circle Tree Ranch, the Stereo Hospital, the Jewish Community Center of Southern Arizona, Ricker Realty, the Weintraub Center for Israeli Studies, and Abbott Taylor Jewelers, and we thank them for their support. All right, Mr. Fortune, what do you got for us, brother?
What is your question?
Can you peg that session?
I have no idea.
Okay, that was you, first of all.
No.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Oh, yeah. That was you on Buddy Rich, Very Live at Buddy's Place, 1971. a tune called Sierra Lonely.
That's me?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and that's what I mean, dude, I'm playing rhythm to that every day, man. I mean, that is some below. I mean, how did you get hooked up with Buddy? Can you talk about how you guys connected?
well, you know what, man? You're the second person that has kind of shocked me in the past month. I got an email from someone in Brazil about 2 or 3, maybe 4 weeks ago, and they were complimenting me and so on and so forth, and I sent them an email in reply and thanks for their support, and that was pretty much, as far as I was concerned, the end of it, because they were in Brazil and I was in New York.
Right.
And so they sent me back a reply and said that they were so influenced by my playing and whatnot, and that they wanted to know what instrument I was playing on this particular tune that they were sending me through email. And I was like, well, okay, I'll listen to this and see what's happening here. So when he sent me and when I listened to it, he asked me, was I playing a soprano or alto saxophone? And on a particular tune, now I was familiar with the tune because I considered myself recording the tune first. It was a Kenny Barron composition, and we had recorded the tune first, even though it was his tune. And I only knew of one recording, and that was the recording that we did on my album. And so this guy sent me this recording on soprano. And when I listened to it, I said, that can't be me.
You mean the tone, or it didn't sound like you? It just didn't recognize?
Well, I was very pleasantly surprised. So much so that I went and got because I have all my recordings.
Sure.
I went and got my album and played it because I didn't believe what the guy was asking me and implying. He was saying either I'm playing alto or I'm playing soprano, and I knew of only one recording on alto, but this was a soprano version. I had actually forgotten all about the fact that I had recorded this tune with Kenny, and I don't even remember recording the tune as much as I remember recording the date. I don't remember the repertoire. In reference to Buddy Rich, I don't remember this tune at all.
Do you remember? I mean, you know what's really funny about it is because for me it's been a go-to album for years. It was done on the Groove Merchant label. There was a Manny album production.
But somebody my drummer just sent me a picture 2 days ago.
Right. All right. So
Buddy Rich.
There's an iconic picture of of the group, and there you are in this white tuxedo with a yellow sweatshirt.
No. I think that's on one of the recordings. This was a picture of us playing somewhere.
Right.
And we all had our own personal attire. We didn't have uniforms, and we were outdoors. And my drummer just sent this to me day before yesterday. So now you're playing a record that I did with Buddy. I don't remember. I don't remember. Jesus, I just realized I don't remember the recording. I remember the gig.
No. I mean, I'm trying to.
I remember the gig because we worked because I worked 5 months in his club.
Exactly. Live at Buddy's place.
Live at Buddy's place. And we did a recording then. Matter of fact, I think what we did the recording live. We do the recording live?
That's what we were just playing. I mean, I'm not going to, and you're...
Was that recording live?
Yes.
Okay. Well, then that's what we did.
Yeah.
We did. So I don't remember recording. I remember one of the tunes, Nika's Dream, and that's the only tune I remember. I don't remember any of the other tunes. I don't remember the recording, but I remember the gig.
Exactly.
And now you're putting a recording on that I don't even remember the tune.
Well, if you have, I mean, the record, the tune.
I have the record.
Yeah. So Sierra Lonely, and you start with that flute solo, man. And I this leads into my question: is that I want you to talk to my daughters and anybody who listen across the world right now, because we talk about improvisation, melodic improvisation, spontaneous improvisation is the word you use. But ultimately, this is about the music coming from the heavens and then coming through you. It's not, you have to feel it. And I was hoping you could talk about an out-of-body experience on the bandstand.
Well, I tell you, I don't know what to make of what it is that I do, because I kind of look at it from a weird kind of a place. Rasheed Ali and I, as a duo, traveled around the world. We went to Europe. We went to. Did we go to Japan? No. We went to Mexico. We went to Canada. We went to the United States, Europe. Anyway, the thing, and he and I, just the two of us, would play one tune for an hour.
Jeez. And
the thing that was so amazing to me was that most of the time I had no idea I was playing as long as I was playing. And so to me, this spontaneous improvisational approach, even though we weren't playing avant-garde, I might add, even though he was associated with my avant-garde when he was with Coltrane, because I didn't want to play avant-garde. Mm-hmm. We were playing form. He was keeping time, and I was keeping form. And we never abandoned that, because I just didn't want to abandon form. But one of the things that I found that I never could answer, and I often wondered what people were listening to when they listened to us. But one of the things that I found in myself, that time seemed to have had TikTok time, that is, not metronome time.
Right. Real time.
Well, I don't know how real that is, but TikTok time.
TikTok time. I like that, yeah.
But it seems as if TikTok time had very little relevance, because we would play one tune for an hour. Sometimes I'd play like 20, 25, half an hour, and didn't even know it. I thought I'd played maybe 10 minutes.
This is, and what I'm saying is that there was, and going back to modern.
But I never experienced that with anybody else I worked with, because I never had that kind of what is the word that I'm looking for? That kind of space. Good word. I never had that kind of space with anybody that I worked with. I used to tell Rasheed, I said, man, you know what? This is the only band that I've ever been in that no one said to me, man, you're playing too long. And so maybe that had a lot to do with it. But as an end result, I had no idea as much time would go by as would go by when he and I were playing.
Were you like, if you like on one of these 45-minute jams or tunes rather, you would be playing multiple horns and flute, like you'd play three different?
No, one horn.
One horn. Is there? And I know this is an interesting question. Are there recordings of that duo? I've never even. That's amazing to me.
Well, there's. From what I understand, there may be. I didn't want any, because I didn't know what to make of what Rasheed and I were doing. I'm serious. I didn't. It was through his insistence that we went public. We did what we were doing publicly for about 8 or 9 years, 2, 3, 4 times a week in his we called it a gymnasium. And in the middle of all of that, he said, "Man, we ought to go." I said, "Man, don't nobody want to hear this. What I want."
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I said, "Nobody want to hear this, man."
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, no, we." And I said, "Man, I don't want to do it, man." And so the first gig, I walked off. We didn't do it.
Really?
I walked off the gig. The first gig, the very first gig that we did publicly, I walked off the gig. We didn't do it. Now I won't go into why and whatever, but I walked off the gig. We never played because I didn't really feel. I kind of felt like, and there were, but here's what's so incredible about all of this, because I am serious, Jack. I've never got the reviews that I got from doing that duo. The New York Times did from left to right, all the way down from top to half of the page of him and I.
Wow.
And I've never got that kind of a review from anybody, from anything that I've done. From left to right, not a column, but from left to right, from top to down to the middle of the page of him and I.
Can we get a year on this? What year is this approximately?
Oh, I don't know. About God, I don't.
I mean, had he already played with Train at this point?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This was relatively recent. Oh yeah.
Okay.
This was before Rasheed died. He died about 10 years ago.
Okay.
Or less, somewhere thereabouts.
So it's maybe possibly within this century.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
Oh, yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
We were doing this. My daughter died in 2005. We were doing this in 2005 because I remember a gig that we had to go to right after her death, and I was out of it. We had been doing it. Like I said, we did this privately, just him and I, for about 7 or 8 years in his studio that we called the Gymnasium because of how we were treating it 2, 3, 4 times in a week for about 7 or 8 years before we even went public. And then we went public for about 7 or 8 years of doing this, just the two of us. And I relate to that because of the question that you asked me.
Exactly.
In terms of
out of body,
right? Because otherwise, I'm just trying to find some music.
Exactly.
But when he and I were doing what we were doing, man, it was like I could take off my shoes, take a shower, and sit down and have a meal and look for this music.
And you were still playing. No, I mean, this is...
Well, I'm just saying in terms of how it made me feel. I had no... there was no... Because we played a concert in Paris. We played one tune for an hour and 40 minutes. The people were screaming and hollering, and musicians were in the place. And folks were blown out. And we played in a club in Italy. Now, this is what he told me. The place was packed, and on an intermission, he went by. I had gone by as well, but I went outside. But he kind of pursued, and a young lady was laying on the floor, and he went and asked. He said that somebody told him that she fell out because of the music, and it was just him and I doing duo.
It's remarkable. I mean, to me, it's almost part of it is also that you weren't thrilled, or you had a lot of trepidation about doing it in the first place, and you just got into a zone where you just left. You stopped. All the inhibitions fell away, and you just kept playing, so you could block out some of that trepidation that you might have had.
Well, I tell you, I used to say to people when I try to give it some kind of explanation, I would say that, well, all I can tell you is I think what people saw was two crazy so-and-sos having fun.
Oh, exactly. I need to get this. I want this. This is. It's an album I've never been able to get my hands on, but I wanted to know the meaning behind "Long Before Our Mothers Cried." Can you talk about that?
Well, that was my first recording.
On with Stanley Cowell's label, Strata East.
Strata East.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an artist-owned label. I keep telling the world that if that label had survived, jazz would probably be in a different reality today.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yes, indeed, because that was all artist-owned. There was about 30 different artists.
I mean, and the artists happened to be completely channeling what you just talked about. This whole idea of transcendent, improvisational, melodic, rhythmic music. And I mean, everyone from Roy Brook.
Well, we were trying.
You're doing a darn good job. I'll tell you that much.
Well, we were trying. I mean, for me, I like that kind of association, so I did what's necessary to be a part of it because I wanted to be a part of that. I have my own label now because I identify with that kind of effort and awareness. But Long Before Our Mothers Cried was a kind of just a summation or an acknowledgement of, I guess, reality from yesterday to today and tomorrow. That recording was when I worked with Mongo Santa Maria. I didn't use his quote on that particular recording, particular album, but I recorded the album again on Blue Note, and I recorded the tune rather again on Blue Note. And in the liner notes, I quoted Mongo in one of his quotes that he had said to me while I was working with him. Me and Steve Berrios, one intermission night. I mean, on one night on intermission, and that was, he said, at least we were able to keep the drum.
Mm-hmm.
He was talking about slavery and what the abuse that had been done to the African American slaves as opposed to the Caribbean slaves. And he was making the comparison with, at least we were able to keep the drum because the African American slaves were not even allowed to keep anything. And so that title came from that awareness of Long Before Our Mothers Cried, when life had another kind of reality as opposed to that experience. So that was what I was trying to imply with that title.
Can you? No, that's very well articulated. So even cats, African American slaves in Congo Square, they weren't allowed to keep they couldn't have drums. I thought. Can you clear that for me? I'm not aware of that.
I'm talking about. Well, what I'm talking about is that the slave experience. The African American slave probably was treated the worst of all the slaves. I don't know enough about the Brazilian slaves, but the Caribbean slaves were not as abused and stripped of the language, of the heritage, of everything. The Caribbean slaves were able to not only keep their drum, they were able to keep their religion. Mongo practiced was a part of an African religion that's practiced in Cuba. Probably today, I don't know. I want to go there, but I haven't been there.
Right.
But the African American slave was denied religion, language, tribe, all associations to Africa, and along with the brutality that went with that experience. So,
and that's where, I mean, and for people that don't know, I mean, the album has a jubilant rhythmic feel to it. Sonny, we're gonna have to have you back on for part 2. I had a ball with you today, man. It was really it's an honor to connect with you. I was delighted to see Henry. I started my show 5 years ago, and the Skipper was one of my earliest supporters, and I was thrilled to see you guys collaborating together, and I look forward to continuing our transmissions in the near future, my friend.
Thank you. Same here.
All right, brother. Be good.
All right. Take care of yourself.
Later, man.
All right.
We'll be right back on the Jake Feinberg Show.